I was working in Europe last week and something came up that I think's worth sharing, because actually what it's about is a trait that we may consider positive in ourselves as parents was evident in what I'm going to share with you, and also a trait we may consider positive in the child was evident. But in both situations, this apparent positive trait actually had drawbacks, and the intervention I was able to give, the parent and child could see that, and as a result, it helped them a lot in that situation. So let me take you through it quickly, because it may be something that you experience. So this particular child had had a situation at school where they had a really close friend for a long period of time. And then what seemingly was out of the blue, their best friend suddenly deserted them. They went off and played with somebody else and almost ignored them, as if they were invisible, was the description. The child explained the story really well to the parent. And so that's a trait you might admire in the child. Really articulate, explained it very, very well. The parent was really good at listening to the story without interrupting them. A trait you might say in a parent, wonderful trait to have, great to listen. But both sides had drawbacks, because what was happening was the child continued to repeat the story. And so they were reinforcing the story in their mind. And if you think of the mind as like a set of scales or a seesaw to some extent. So imagine it like this. The child was repeating the story, and every time they repeated it, they stacked up a negative association to that story. And so that became their reality. The parent was doing a good job of listening. What I was able to do was interrupt the story of the child, listen to it enough to understand it, but get specific about it. And what my questions were to this child was that at the time your friend deserted you, who took their place? Because the reality is somebody would have taken their place, and sure enough they had. This girl went off and played with a couple of other friends. Then we needed to find out what was the benefit of playing with those friends compared to the old friend. And it transpired that when she was with the old friend, her old best friend, actually was a little bit tense sometimes because she never wanted to upset her. And going to play with these new friends actually was quite relaxing. She was able to be herself a bit more, was a bit more free. She didn't worry so much about upsetting them. And so as a result, she actually had quite a lot of fun. It wasn't until she was prepared to receive that question and look for the answer did we start to then, instead of the scales being down here, we started to push the scales back up again, because we found some positives over there. So the point of the story I want to make you here is that sometimes as a parent we think we're doing something really good by listening very carefully. But unless we're prepared to interrupt that story, even if it's just at the end, and ask questions to disrupt the story. If the story is a negative story, there's no value in leaving it that way. In fact, one of the questions I asked to this child was, do you want to continue to feel this way, or would you like to find the truth in the situation and feel different? And of course, she wanted to find the truth and feel different. So in able to interrupt that question and ask who took the other child's place, what was the benefit to this new relationship, this new friendship? As soon as she could find that, she balanced those scales back out again, put her back in the center, which is the place when you're balanced mentally, you see the world differently, you can move forward a lot more. So I hope that's of value.